Good morning. I have seen different topics, particularly the literary ones, that talk about repeated things, not sophisticated manners, and highly discussed subjects. Then I asked myself many questions. One of them, why don't we go deeper in our studies, particularly the profound ones, to highlight in those matters that do agitate and encourage our potentials? Frankly speaking, I have read plenty of articles, many dissertations and theses, proposals, topics. To be more accurate and have such a profound, erudite background, you need to understand the organic function of being a heavy reader. This is the first element that need to be elucidated precisely. Honestly speaking, one of the topic that has been dealing with is the scientific literature, or as the American accent would pronounce it, the scientific literature. Could you deal with this topic in such a way that could find for us solutions and resolutions to the aim of writing such a novel or a story or a tale, or let me say a poetic style, in a way that is called the scientific literature. The scientific literature is so popular nowadays. It has its fame and prosperity by those mature writers. We do understand that the decoration and publication, marketing, media, and other things have done great achievements to those with limitations and shortage of publications in our world, particularly the Middle Eastern world. I do understand that matters cannot be achieved unless there are multi-dimensional studies to implement such topics that are related to research background and scientific studies. A scientific study, it does not mean that you have done a great work in terms of its literary function and its importance, because there are historical basics and themes that cannot be neglected, ignored, and forgotten by the writer. I'm talking now about short storyteller, writer, a novelist, and those who are narrating, a narrator. things, and they do think that when we talk about the statistical information could be employed and unrolled and easily and simply within the text and context of the literary genre. Because the word genre has its profound meaning and symbolic references. It is not a matter of agitating readers with numbers about a topic that is actually a phenomenon in that society or in this society. So at this particular point, we need to create and implement such things that could be accepted according to the rules of the structure, the construction, the framework, and the utmost point is how could we think about the differences among such writings, particularly when we talk about things that cannot be changed because you are highly recommended person in your specialty or highly talented asset in your branch. Literature is not something that could be called outside my province. When you are a novelist or a writer, a short story teller, no, it's not the job of the scientist to think about what he has got as a potent or someone who is iconic in linguistic or in statistic or in mathematics or in geography or in psychiatric medicine, music. He could write a novel or a short story or a novella. Absolutely not. It's not the matter of showing. It's the matter of creating, producing, implementing, and the pivotal point here I would talk about is called the employment of genres, anecdote, the structural devices, the sound devices. All these literary terminologies cannot be used simply and accordingly. And that's why I have read one of the novels, which is called The Expectation Effect. I don't want to mention the writer because I have got his background in mathematics. He's a specialist in mathematics and database analysis, all these stuff concerning editing and proofreading. These might be accepted when we talk about the age of technology, the age of speed, the age of computational programming issues associated with advancement and improvement. But when we return back to our topic, that is the scientific literature, I do mean that we need to understand things as they are. To be pessimistic in your speech, you have a reason for that. And to be optimistic, you have actions and reactions of success and achievement. Improvement does not mean that you could interfere with inferences that would be acceptable because you have achieved the acceptance of the editor or publisher or the house of publications. All these matters might be agitating you and moving up things easily, but this is not the topic. Also, I would illustrate another elements when we talk about the memoir. The memoir is one of the elements that when you would ask a scientist about, he would not be able to give such answers thoroughly and perfectly. Of course, they will think that the memoir is something that related to the writer's personal knowledge. That's true from the definition of the dictionary, the Cambridge Dictionary or the Oxford Dictionary, but the memoir is something that could be used by the writer in the middle of the novel, for example, in order to move up events and scenes or to give such a historical background of somebody who has played such roles within the events and the protagonist and antagonist. Those two elements, the hero and the enemy. Also, another fact has to be talked about when we would like to refer to the scientific literature or literature. The sentences are not easily to be used. They are huge, enormous, and fascinated. The matter of fascination, inspiration, and influence have to be taken into account. To be a comprehensive writer, novelist, and short storyteller, it takes time to create such matters, particularly when we need to understand the geographical and historical background of something that we would like to employ in our text or in our style of writing. So my language is somehow academic and encourageable to those who are thinking about such topics. You need to get back to the scientific literature to understand how could we defend such things or be with the side of these new writing that could make the readers, the listeners, suspectful or pessimistic. Also, two words need to be talked about when we talk about the word prologue. Prologue, or as it is pronounced differently in the American accent and the dialect and the British accent and dialect. Prologue and prologue. This is the thing that you could refer to as far as writing a novel. When we think about the starting point, we must be aware and conscious about all these elements. Whether we could use this word in particular, because most of the editors and publishers do not accept when any type of novels, when it is started with such titles like the prologue, and the other opposite thing that need to be comprehended with profoundly understanding of the construction and structure of writing such a novel. It is called epilogue. The word epilogue, it could be divided into two parts. Epi means in the, log means addition. These are the words that have an origin, the Greek word. They must be learned and taught before the essentiality and usage of such titles must be accurate. Epilogue, let us take epilogue, for example. It talks about when you would like to end your novel, you think about different matters, whether you would like to end your novel with a tragic scene or happy endings, or you could make readers unaware of the open ending, and you think that you need to write more sessions, more scenes, more events that could be talked about your futuristic thought. You could speak about that with a separate chapter. It is called epilogue, when you would like to mention your next step of writing, your new title, your futuristic vision. This is a separate. But when you would like to end up your novel with an event, and then to wrap up all these information within a separate chapter, you could put that in the epilogue. So these are the simplified information, the more accurate symbolic elements that need to be used when we talk about the scientific literature. I haven't seen these things when I have read the newest novel. It is published in 2022. I have got the book recently. It's about $12. Its price is about $12. So it's not easy to think about matters as I am now illustrating, elucidating, explaining, because these are the toughest, the highly recommended issues associated with accurate writing, such academic achievements and outcomes. The impactful elements of creating such matters, particularly or especially the useful one for readers in particular, because we are writing now, or we have written, or we had written previously. For whom? For readers, for the audience, for listeners, not for ourselves, in order to create an image to the world that we have achieved our new, modern, and erudite, sophisticated, and recommended book. No, this is not the matter. Let me put it in a more simplified way. I have used a lot of difficult words, particularly in this episode, in order to show things, its importance and accuracy. We have elements that could be used when we talk about the round character or limited character. These also another things that could be used while we are writing a short story, a fiction, or a novella. So such matters are not easily to tackle, and to hold on these matters is better than to move on in their things. Verisimilitude is one of the words that we could talk about. Verisimilitude is something that could be used by the writer in order to show the untrue, the imaginative, and the visionary things that could not be done It's related to the probability, the likelihood of such topics and matters. And I have done recently one of my achievement. It's the newest novel. I haven't finished it yet. It takes a week from now to be finished. It talks about matters and things that could be useful, particularly when we talk about the scientific literature. I have created a model and a theory. It's mine to readers to look at and to critics to discuss, debate, and explain or criticize as they do like to see them. So debating and sharing such matters are so profound and deeply mentioned. And I'm not here to talk about epistolary matters. The word epistolary means to give a message, to give an information. It's not like this. I'm not creating this episode to give an epistolary topic. No, I'm giving this to show you the reality of the newest topics that could be used for higher studies, particularly the genre of the scientific literature. This is one. The importance of the structural elements of writing a novel in the scientific literature. The grammatical usage from semantics, syntax. This is a linguistic study, discourse analysis, or speech acts, implicatures, all these titles that related to pragmatics. You could use it to discuss the scientific literature, or we could return back to our topic, the scientific literature, and how could we prove that it is not like the oldest visions of writing, because we need to remember that the establishment of Parliament in London, for example, and the ending of the Civil War, these are the remarkable starting points of morals and ethics within the 1700s. And this is the starting point of writing in England, for example, in the United Kingdom. And we need to understand all these basics so that we could write precisely and accurately. The salient and paramount matters must be associated with issues related to the basics, the rules, the sophisticated elements. And I might be somehow difficult in my episode. It is very often to mention such things. I often mention such matters so that listeners could be beneficial, benevolent, and hope you get the information as required. Feel free to comment, write anything you think they might be necessary. And I do not want to use may, might, could, can. You must participate so that I can continue in showing you such things positively, and avoiding negativity means that we are successful, particularly topics, subjects, matters, ways, and approaches must be used thoroughly. Thank you very much, and I do appreciate your listening. Bye.